right, I'm going to get started. I know that on the workshop Wednesday thing it said from 2 to 3. If I do an entire hour of air conditioning information or home warranty information, you'll all kill me, so I won't do that. But I wanted to go over something that's super important because not only is it something that I would say 99% of agents don't understand, but it's also something that affects both buyers and sellers in transactions. So feel free to answer or ask any questions as we go through. But I'm Shelley Carr. I am the rep, the account executive for OneGuard Home Warranties. But while I am from OneGuard, my goal today is really to address home warranty coverage in general. So even if you are a user of another company, my goal is really just to educate you on home warranty coverage in R22. So our first objectives, understand what R22 free on phase out is and its impact on homeowners. Does anybody know what R22, what I'm even talking about? Can someone nod? A lot of blank stares.
I just hear it come up on my inspections all the time.
Yeah, it's a big deal. We're going to examine how the home warranty industry will cover R22 systems in general, evaluate common home inspection report and HVAC repairs to understand what home warranty companies look for when determining coverage. One of the most important things people get a home warranty for is what?
Air conditioning.
Air conditioning. So if you're going to have a client that gets a home warranty because of the air conditioning, you probably want to make sure that you help in the transaction process, make sure that that air conditioning is going to be covered. And then review tips and tricks you can do to ensure your clients have a great home warranty coverage in general. I know that home warranties kind of have this negative view and they're scams and they don't ever pay out and they're not worth the money. I can tell you that if that was the honest to God truth, I wouldn't work for them. I'm a super transparent, ethical, honest human being, and I couldn't work for a company that was an awful job where I was constantly dealing with people who had denied claims and were being shady, just taking their money and not covering anything, and looking for loopholes. I would quit my job. That'd be awful. So R22 and the phase out. Get right into it. R22 is the refrigerant that makes air conditioning happen. And this is the refrigerant that is in, if you want to think about air conditioning units, about roughly 2008 and older. So if you have an air conditioning unit that's 2009 or newer, then you're probably okay. So that means that you have a Puron unit. So we're really talking about all of these older units. They started with making about 55.4, I'm not really sure, million pounds of Freon. And throughout the years, they have slowly stopped manufacturing as much of this R22. By January 1st, 2020, they're going to completely 100% stop manufacturing R22. So when you hear that, what do you think?
Screwed.
Who's screwed?
Goes up.
Homeowners. So anybody with a unit that's 2008 or older is screwed, right? And that is the common perception that I hear. So as realtors, what are you going to hear in the field? You're putting in an offer with clients on a house that has an older unit. What are they going to want?
To cover the cost.
To cover the cost, a new AC. You have a seller who's selling a house with an older air conditioning unit. What's their concern?
It's functioning now.
It's functioning now. I don't want to buy it. I don't want to have to pay for a new unit. My air conditioning works perfectly fine. I talked to an agent today. She's like, my unit is 21 years old. There's absolutely nothing wrong with it. I've been trying to get this thing replaced forever, but nothing is wrong with it. And she's going through this process right now where she's going to sell her house. She's like, what do I do? So the good news is, it is not doom and gloom. This R22 is going to stop production at the end of the year. However, R22 will be available. It's just not going to be produced anymore. So there are people, like OneGuard, who have been stockpiling R22 for like 10 years. So we've had silos of R22. And we did that starting, I don't know, it was probably 10 plus years ago, so that we could keep our costs down. And we're not the only people that have done it. In addition to R22, there are also a lot of synthetic refrigerants that have been manufactured to answer this, what are we going to do? There's a whole different situation when it comes with the synthetic refrigerants that we won't get into, but even if it's not R22 that's available, the air conditioning industry will come up with a solution. So at the end of the year, it's not going to be this, everybody should own an air conditioning company because you're going to be the richest people in the world. It's going to be, there's going to be a solution. In addition to that, there's going to be, which I'll get to, parts available. But what we're going to come into is supply and demand. So at the end of the year, when they stop producing R22, the cost of R22 is going to continue to rise. Right now, the cost, it depends on who you're getting it from, could be anywhere from $70, $80 a pound to $148 a pound. How many pounds of Freon does an average air conditioning unit take?
I have no idea.
10 to 12 pounds. So if you have a 10 to 12 pound need, and it's about $100 a pound, you can see where just putting Freon in the unit is going to be a huge expense. We're not even talking parts or labor, it's just the cost of Freon. You're also going to get into an issue of incompatibility coverage. So incompatibility means that you're going to have part of the system that is made for an R22, and part of the system is made for the new components, which is called R410A. So that's going to be another issue. However, like I said, parts are still going to be available, and parts anywhere from 2009 on most of them have been made so they can both use the R22 and the R410A. You just can't mix the two refrigerants. So if you have an R22 system, you can't just go dump R410A into it. It doesn't work that way. And you're going to run into an issue where there's out-of-pocket costs when you come into home warranties, which we're going to get to as well. So as you're addressing your buyers and your sellers, as you're working through these transactions, what the most important thing you can tell them is R22 will be available. Synthetic refrigerants have been manufactured, and parts are still going to be available. It's just going to cost more to start fixing them. Our contractor manager, who I work very closely with, he anticipates like 2023 is when we're probably going to start to see more of an issue. So we've got some time, and by then we're talking, these units are going to be pretty old anyway. So we have a typical split system. This is what most of our air conditioning systems look like. Usually there's an air handler in a closet or in an attic somewhere, and then there's the unit outside. When I talk about incompatibility coverage, I'm talking about, let's say we replace this. If we replace this part of the air conditioning system, you have to make sure that the air handler inside is also compatible with it. Vice versa, if you replace this, you have to make sure that's compatible with it. The other, I didn't know I was going to do that, that's fancy. The other kind of system that we see is called a package unit, where all of the stuff is together. So you have your compressor and your condenser coil. Those are the two big ones that we always see that home warranties replace. You're going to have your fan motors, run caps and easy repair. So when looking at this kind of a situation, as a home warranty company, we have to go in and we fix these things. What happens is we have to drain all of this with refrigerant. We take all the R22 out, and let's say we go in and we're going to replace the condenser coil. We will pay for the condenser coil. We also pay the refrigerant. So as long as you have a home warranty, you're going to be good. You're not going to have to worry about it.
Oh, no, you're okay.
So when you're looking at home warranty coverage, this is the part that's really important. You can assure your buyers and sellers it's not doom and gloom with older units, especially if they work well. But now comes the home warranty. So you need to make sure whatever company that you're using is the cost of Freon covered. You are going to see as the home warranty industry changes, as the R22 situation changes, that home warranties are going to change their coverage. In the past, we've all covered R22. But again, towards the end of the year, you're going to see everybody kind of coming out with new plans. In the OneGuard family, we are going to cover Freon 100%. You will see some companies that will cover maybe $10 a pound. You'll see some companies that have like a $500 maximum. So whatever company you're with, talk to your rep, talk to them about it, making sure that they're going to cover 100% of the Freon. Because again, that's going to be a huge change when it comes to what is it going to look like for my buyers or my sellers if they're paying for it. Is there a maximum amount covered? So if you're constantly having something replaced or fixed, are they only going to pay for a total out-of-pocket in the entire policy period $500? And if so, do you want to make sure that you're with a company that does? And also, is there incompatibility coverage? So incompatibility coverage is going to make sure that you are going to have, again, if you're fixing or replacing one part, are they going to fix and replace the rest of it to make sure that everything works together? One of the things to be aware of, and this is something, again, I told you I was the most transparent salesperson in the world, issues with an older unit. So while a home warranty company is going to cover our 22 systems, what your buyers are going to come across, these are the two most common things that I see all the time. Efficiency issues and issues with ductwork. These are two things that home warranty companies, I don't care which one you pick, they don't cover it. So you know how when you walk into a house and the air conditioning is on, but it still feels warm? Or the temperature splits come back okay in an inspection report, but the house still feels warm or the air conditioning runs all the time? That's an efficiency issue. When you get the really old units, that is where the air conditioning is working as best as it can. Technically, it works just fine. There's nothing mechanically wrong with it. So you can't just go fix a different part or replace a different part, add some more Freon, but it's just working as hard as it can. It's kind of like if you get in your gas guzzling Cadillac, it's working the best it can, but yet it's draining that gas like crazy. It's going to be the same thing. Their electric bills are going to be high. Maybe parts of their house are going to be a little warmer than others, and it may be stuck at like that 78 degrees. That's not something a home warranty is going to cover because their air conditioning is working just fine. So that is something to be aware of. Also, I see issues with ductwork. So a lot of times in older houses, like some kind of ductwork is collapsed, something like that has happened, and home warranties don't cover that part of the ductwork. So when you're looking and you're helping representing buyers, that's something to really think about, because you don't want to be on the other end of that call when they're like, well, you told me I just would get a home warranty and they'll cover the air conditioning unit. You want to make sure that you have that conversation with them about if it's warm when you're walking through the house and you have that air conditioning on the whole time, maybe you lower it and it never drops below a certain temperature, that's definitely something as you're doing the inspection that you're going to evaluate. Which brings us to, this is my job, 7 days a week, I feel like 24 hours a day, is people call me and they say, how do I make sure my clients are protected? Before we start this, does anybody have questions? I know it's kind of a lot. It is a lot of technical stuff that you really don't need to know about if you just kind of understand the basics. This right here is where I really want you to pay attention. I see a lot of mistakes done from realtors out in the field all the time, and there's really simple things that you can do that will really help ensure that your clients are protected. The first thing I see is when somebody has a red flag on their home inspection, people don't do anything about it. If you have anything on a home inspection, make sure that you're actually addressing it, or talk to your clients. This says we should be evaluating it by a licensed contractor. That's probably something we should look at doing. Addressing that with your buyers. When you have something evaluated, request an itemized invoice. I can't tell you how many times I'll see an invoice that looks like it was written on like a restaurant ticket, or it's something you can barely read, or it's done by somebody that's not a licensed contractor and it's a major air conditioning issue. I see it all the time. And they're like, well, the seller picked it and it was, their cousin, and they'll kind of go into the story. But when we're talking air conditioning units, that's an expensive mistake to make. And you can protect yourself, so you're not going to necessarily be liable for it, but you also want to maintain your relationship with your clients. You work really hard to get clients. So making sure that you're protecting yourself with it. And you can do simple things. If you ever have a question about this, just simply ask me, email me, hey, does this work? I get it all the time. I just got this invoice. Does this work? Is this okay? This is what the inspection said. And I will clear it with my office. We'll get it in writing for you so you know. People ask me about, home inspectors are always going to cover themselves and make sure that they're not going to be liable. So what do home inspectors put on their inspection reports when it's an older unit?
AC near end of life.
AC is at the end of the life.
R22 no longer going to be available.
Yep. What's another big one?
Get an HVAC specialist.
Get an HVAC specialist. What was that?
Can't inspect what we can't see.
Yep. Anything else? Recommend prepare for a new unit soon. I see that a lot on water heaters too. Those kind of things. We don't discriminate against age. So if it says it's at the end of its life, we know that it's an old unit, it's at the end of its life. If it's outside of the scope of inspection, you did your due diligence by hiring a home inspector. We know that they can't take apart a unit. We know they're not going to do that, so we will still cover it. If it says something about prepare for buying a new one in the future, that's something, again, we would still cover, as long as it doesn't say recommended evaluation by a licensed contractor. A home inspector is not going to put that it needs to be evaluated unless there's an indication that something's wrong. If it's just old, if something like that, they're not going to put that they'll put that it's old, but they're not going to flag it as being red. They are only going to flag it as being red if there's an indication that there's a problem. If it's flagged as red, it means that you really do need to get it checked. And it could just be that it needs to be cleaned. So in their inspection report, it could have temperature splits are okay, but maybe it's really dirty. And in that case, it needs to be cleaned. And you don't want your buyers to have to pay for that cleaning. So it's a good thing to have them, just have a contractor go out there. It needs to be a contractor you trust, but have somebody go out there. A true cleaning of an indoor coil or an indoor unit is going to be pretty expensive. We're talking about several $100s. The outside one is not a big deal. That's something you can spray off. The inside one is going to be pretty expensive. So make sure that if you get something and the seller said, oh yeah, we had it cleaned, it's an indoor coil and it cost us $99. That's kind of a red flag for you to be like, why did they clean? Because sometimes if it's an indoor unit, they actually have to remove it, clean it, and put it back. So it's I've seen them like as high as $800. So it could be pretty expensive for this one. But again, if it's flagged, just follow the recommendations. If you have any questions, ask me. This is another huge one I see all the time. If you ever see on one of your itemized invoices that they added 3 pounds of Freon or more, and they didn't do a leak search, that leak search is pretty important, then that's an indication that's a problem. Adding 3 pounds of Freon is kind of a lot of Freon. If you think about an air conditioning system, it's a closed system. So in order for 3 pounds of Freon to go away, there has to be some way that it goes away, and that's usually a leak. Sometimes it can be a valve or something like that that is loose and that kind of thing. So if they have done a leak search and the leak search shows that there's no leaks, you're fine. But if they had 3 pounds of Freon and then did a temperature split check and the temperature splits are great and go about their way, you could have a problem. It's like putting oil in your car when you know there's an oil leak. And you're like, I'm just going to get down the street, I'm going to put oil in it. And then you drive, and then you see the oil still leaking when you get there. It's the same thing, just adding Freon. It's just a Band-Aid. So they need to make sure that there's not a leak. This I see, every time I see it come across my computer, I'm like, no, because it's huge. Home warranties will deny claims all the time because of this. It'll be a pre-existing condition. So it's something very simple. If it's 2 pounds of Freon, not a big deal. 2 pounds of Freon could easily be, you open it up, somebody could spill, something like that. But when you're talking about 3 pounds, for some reason, that's a magic number. Questions about that? Again, always
So
call
if
me
you're
after.
representing the buyer, you don't want your inspector to say, you do want your inspector to say it's getting near the end of its life?
If you're representing the buyer?
Yeah, I mean, if you go back to this red flag thing,
Uh-huh.
you know,
It doesn't matter if it says it's at the end of its life. Right now we're talking about how are you going to make sure that your unit's covered? How are you going to make sure it's safe? Because in your world, you want to make sure you keep the deal together, right? So if you have a buyer that's all of a sudden asking for new units, and in your head you're thinking, they're never going to get new units. This is going to kill the deal. You've got to come up with some strategies to keep the deal together. So you can use a home warranty to make sure that that happens, but you just need to make sure that you're doing it right. Because the last thing you want is for your buyer to be asking for a new unit, and you're like, oh no, just use
that's
a
what
home
I'm
warranty.
saying. You said two different things. You said one thing is okay, one thing is we're not gonna cover it. And
So we will cover, if it says it's at the end of its life, we will cover it as long as the unit itself is in good working order. If there's anything on it that says that the unit needs to be evaluated by a licensed contractor, you know, temperature splits are off, anything like that, it has to be checked out and made sure it's in good working order before we cover it.
So you ask for the inspection. You get the inspection report before coverage starts, right?
Will we? Sometimes, not all the time. So if you, and I'll give you a perfect example. So we just had somebody that closed in that first 30 days. They called in, their air conditioning stopped working, and when we went out for service, we found that they had a big leak in the coil. So that's a pretty expensive repair. It's within the first 30 days. Their coverage starts day 1. So then at that point, we asked for the home inspection. That agent and I worked together very closely all the time, so she had everything exactly right. So she had the unit. It had been originally red flagged. She had a licensed contractor go out there and service the unit. She had everything documented, and it ends up that there's still a leak in the coil. So we covered it. And I think he's been in the house 20 days. But
So as long as we do our due diligence?
Yes.
Okay.
As long as you do your part, because you can't control sellers.
No.
You can't control if they're going to be shady and dump Freon in and it passes the home inspection. You can't control that. You also can't control sellers' contractors. But if you know to look for making sure that they're cleaning it correctly, and you know to look for this 3 pounds of Freon, which licensed contractors know this is like standard. However, sellers are still controlling who pays for it. So if they're like, just put 3 pounds of Freon in it, just let it go, it's gonna be fine. They have a home warranty. If you're smart enough to say, well, I see they put in 3 pounds of Freon, and they didn't do a leak search, this is an indication of a leak. You know, in our Windsor, we asked for it to make sure that it was gonna be in good working order. You know, then at that point, you've done your due diligence. You're a rock star.
Okay.
But so as long as you're doing exactly what you're supposed to do, you're fine. Even if it's an older unit.
Okay.
Just like this situation that happened where 20 days in, you know, we have paid $3,500 for a new coil. It's just, she just has worked with me long enough, she knows how to do it. And ask questions. Because there's so much that you're supposed to know. The last thing you need to do is be a home warranty expert. Because there's a crazy amount of stuff you need to know. So people email me all the time or text me or send me videos, or I get all kinds of crazy things. The other 2 things that I see, but I don't see them as often, but I always like to point them out. If you notice, maybe they've done some extensions on the home, something like that. There's one unit, and you're like, there's one unit, this is kind of a big house. There's not a home warranty company out there that covers undersized units. So if there's one unit, it's let's say a 2-story house and there's one unit, that's kind of weird. I would, at that point, if it's that big a deal, you would make sure an HVAC contractor just goes and looks at it real quick. They can do a load evaluation to make sure it services the house correctly. Again, I don't see this very often, but more recently with people who do remodels and they're not adding additional air conditioning units, what happens is you have that one room in the far corner, doesn't get air. And then they call in and they're like, it's this back bedroom, it's super hot. And it's because that unit is only sized for, let's say, up to 1,500 square feet, but now all of a sudden the house is 1,900 square feet. Well, that back bedroom is not, now that house is too big for one unit.
Is there a rule to how many units you should have per square feet, or?
It depends on the tonnage of the unit,
Yeah.
but there is. I was wondering if someone was
And if
gonna
it's a
ask me.
single story or two
Yeah.
story, is that
And
different?
the windows and that, the insulation and how old it is. So I know the one that I found, again, that doesn't happen often, it happened once this year to me, one of my clients. I want to say their house was, it was 2-story, and I think the house was maybe 1,800 square feet, and I think my office told me it was around 1,500 square feet that you really want to look at maybe needing another unit, but that was for a 2-story house. And it was just one room in the corner, again, that wasn't getting cooling. But it's a big deal, because if you're gonna now bring another unit in and reduct it, and it's something that I don't wanna have to worry about. The other question I get all the time is mismatched units. You will see this in inspection reports. You'll see where the condenser or maybe the air handler is one brand and the compressor is another brand. Brands don't matter, we don't care, you can mix brands all day long. You'll see a lot of that now as people are replacing parts of their air conditioning. What you have to be careful about is tonnage. So we're looking at sizes. So if you have a 5-ton unit on the outside and a 4-ton unit on the inside, that's a problem. So I just put quickly, the outdoor equipment should never be bigger than the indoor equipment. Again, if it comes up in an inspection where it says something about mismatched units and you can't remember, just give me a call. I'll let you know. Not all home warranties cover mismatched units. We do. So be careful about it. But as long as the outdoor unit is not bigger, then it's fine. If that outdoor unit is bigger, it means it's putting more stress on the indoor unit and everything's going to break down prematurely. What questions do you have over these? What is the best way for you guys as you're going through your inspection report and writing your BINSR? What's the best way for you to tackle these if you have questions?
Call you.
Call me. Call me, text me. Even if it's on the weekend, it's a quick text. Shelly, I'm not sure, is this a big deal? Is this okay? And if I don't know 100% the answer, or if you're really concerned about it, I can always send it to my office and get it in writing back to you, so you have it in writing. Yes, we will cover this. No, we will not cover this. Because I'm transparent. I don't want to be that person that gets the call in the middle of the summer and you said you will cover this. So, sellers. This is where it's going to be really important for you guys. When you have sellers that have older units, which you're going to come across, you're there, you're in your listing presentation, you know it's an older home. What are you going to do to make sure that they feel comfortable putting their house on the market? You know that price is going to be an issue. So you want to market the unit as being in good working order. Make sure it is. Have it evaluated. Have an air conditioning company, again, that you trust, not somebody that's going to come out there and be like, well, this unit is 15 years old, you need a new one, and I'm going to charge you $8,000 for it. Don't get a company like that. But get somebody that you trust that's just going to simply let them know this is in good working order. Or if it's not in good working order, have it brought to good working order right away so that you're getting ahead of it when it comes to the inspection report or the inspection. And then be ready with receipts and invoices showing it's been maintained. I cannot believe how many inspection reports I look at where either there's no air filter or the air filter is dirty and hasn't been changed in God knows how long. I see pictures all the time. I'm like, all I had to do was hose that thing off and it would look so much better. It's crazy, the little things that they could have done to make that air conditioning unit look so much better. And I get people calling me all the time, and I get on both sides of the transaction, where all of a sudden I don't know why they trust the home warranty person to help negotiate the deal. But it's interesting because it kills transactions all the time, air conditioning units do. So really helping buyers and sellers be prepared for this is gonna be a game changer for your business. Also, did you know that there's a 2-year warranty? So if you have a seller who has an older air conditioning unit, be upfront with them. Your unit may be an issue. Especially if we're talking first-time home buyers that are not gonna be able to afford a new unit. So let's think about this ahead of time, and let's make sure it's in good working order, and let's offer a 2-year warranty to help them feel better about the investment they're making. Questions about that?
The seller can get that warranty from you?
They can. We actually have a really great, it's called our certified pre-owned home, which takes the concept of like a certified Lexus and it applies it to residential homes, where we go out there and we certify the whole house. But it's a great option for people who want to market older homes.
What does that usually cost to sell? I'm sure it varies.
It's $50 standard, doesn't matter how many square feet it is, what age it is. It really just covers, his name is Russ, covers Russ's fee to come out and inspect the home.
Sounds like a
market material.
no-brainer.
It's a no-brainer. People love it. And especially if you have a seller, like, who I know that this air conditioning is going to be an issue and I don't want it to kill my deal. Older air conditioning, older water heaters. It's kind of a, I like to explain it in more detail than or more time than we have, but it goes through the whole house. It doesn't do roof, structure, or foundation, but it looks at everything else, and it makes it a great opportunity for you to help get that seller completely ready for that home inspection.
Is that in this book?
No, but I can give you a brochure on it.
And then that's transferable to
Yep.
the buyer?
Yep.
I mean, that sounds...
It's a no-brainer.
Yeah.
I don't know why more people don't do it. It truly is. And our inspector, today I had, I work a lot with restaurant agents, and you know, they do a lot of big houses. And so they'll do like their 7,000 square feet homes for $50. And today I was looking at one of the inspection reports, and it was like, there's nothing wrong, there's nothing on it. Like Russ is like, it works good, you know. And the nice thing is when you put it on the market and you do that inspection, that mechanical inspection is what we call it, then they're protected the entire time they're on the market as
And
well.
can you advertise that in the
Absolutely.
listing too?
Yeah.
So that's
Kelly
even
just
better.
did it on one of her listings. She has it on one of her listings now. It's super easy.
That's a good idea.
Yeah. So if you want more information, we can talk about it. And if you have R22 unit and you have buyers, remind buyers, first of all, you are buying and you're not buying a brand new build. So you're going to have older units. And if it is, I really love this house, like I really love house A that has an older unit, and I really love house B and it has a new unit, and they love the houses the same, go with B. It has a new unit. But if they really love house A more, this isn't the end of the world. Do they have to prepare eventually? Are they going to have to buy a new unit? Yes. But if they really love house A, that's more important. So ways that you can do, again, on the other side, ask for a 2-year warranty. Make sure that you have it evaluated by an HVAC company who you trust. If you don't have one, let me know, I'll give you one. That's not going to just go out there and try to sell you a brand new unit. But also prepare your buyers for what to expect with an older unit and home warranty coverage. The last thing you want is to oversell a home warranty, to oversell what it's going to be like to have an older unit, especially if you have a first-time home buyer or somebody that's moving from, you know, part of the country that's not this hot. So, I mean, be honest with them. If you don't know what that looks like or feels like or sounds like, I am happy to talk to them. My office is happy to talk to them. I am happy to explain what home warranty coverage is. Because one of the things that you need to understand is when you're going to replace a unit with a home warranty company, there will be out-of-pocket costs. With a home warranty, it's $69. Our service fee is $69, and we cover the majority of repairs. But if we're going to do significant repairs, like we're doing a whole new coil, or we're doing a whole compressor, or air handler, or we're doing an entirely new unit, there's going to be out-of-pocket costs for your buyers or your sellers. So the way I explain home warranties is that a home warranty isn't going to come in and pay for everything for $69. It's going to help mitigate the cost of replacing your unit. But for the example that I gave earlier, this person's been in their house 20 days and we're paying, an average cost of a new coil would have been $3,500. His out of pockets, I think, are $300. So it's not that bad, especially when he's been in the house 20 days. And I think his plan was $499. So it's pretty good. I always tell people logic and reasoning. There's a lot of stuff we cover for $499. So it is going to have some out of pockets. But it is possible. You have to be realistic about home warranty coverage. But it's definitely, I would buy a house all day long with an older air conditioning unit with a longer coverage on it. I wouldn't have any hesitations with it. So home warranty tips and tricks. A couple of things. Educate, educate, educate. Please do not be an agent that says, don't worry about Windsor repairs, don't worry about anything, we'll just get a home warranty. I guarantee you, it will come back to bite you. Guarantee you. So don't do that. I highly recommend you educating yourselves if you have time. But I was married to a realtor for 11 years, and I know that your time could be spent prospecting and not learning about home warranty stuff. So, with that being said, just have somebody that you trust. That you can call and say, I just have this buyer, they're brand new to the home buying experience, can you just go over what a home warranty is? Or, we just wrote a contract on this. Can you please educate them on what plan they should get? That kind of thing. A lot of people wait till the home warranty conversation till the end. It's like that last thing, oh yeah, by the way, we gotta pick out the home warranty. If you do it in the beginning, especially as you're going to show your buyers, then you can already have that conversation as, yeah, it's an older house. But remember we talked about the home warranty. So as long as everything's checked out good, as long as things are looking good in the home inspection, you'll have this coverage. And you can extend the coverage year after year. So don't let this take you away from if you really love this house. Don't let them start adding up what is it going to cost, what is it going to cost. And if you have somebody that's really skeptical about home warranties or their neighbor had a bad experience, again, let them talk to somebody like me who is honest. I'm completely honest. Be the source of the source, not the source. What I just said. If you don't know it or understand it, don't pretend you do. Defer them to somebody else. Keep all invoices and receipts. Again, when in doubt, ask. If you are going through the transaction, ask that seller's agent for everything. And ask it, don't wait till the very end of the transaction. Be like, oh, can I have all the receipts and invoices? Ask for it as it comes in so that you have a chance to look at it. So if you at the very end see that 3 pounds of Freon were added and it's like the day you close, it's a little late to try to do anything then. So again, as things are going, make sure you're looking at receipts, and any kind of questions you have, just ask. This is something that I saw one agent do, and I think everybody should do it. I mean, I guess as your business gets bigger, you're going to have more trouble maintaining it, but I think there's even a company out there that will ship these things to agents. I'm sure there is, and you could Amazon them too. But remind clients to maintain their homes. I was set up as a realtor to do this. As you're going through your homes and you're doing your inspections and your walkthroughs, take note of their filters. What size? How many do they need? How often do we change our air filters here?
Depends the time of year, but usually every month.
Usually every month. So if every month your clients got an air filter from you, or 2 air filters from you, shipped right to you from Amazon, that's the easiest way ever to keep in contact with them once a month. They never have to buy an air filter again. Their air conditioning air filters are always changed. They're never going to have an issue with lack of maintenance. And you are that amazing realtor that prevents them from ever having to go to Home Depot again.
That's a good
That's an excellent idea.
Isn't
That's
it?
an amazing idea.
I've seen one agent do it once, and I'm like, I think this is genius.
I've got a rental property, and my tenant messaged me last night that the AC was not running right. And on all my other leases, I don't think on her lease, she was the first one I did. I think I forgot to put in there to make sure you change the air filter every month.
Yeah.
On my other leases I did. And so now I'm just texting her, can you tell me what size the air filter is so I can bring you some? Because I don't think it's been changed in a whole year since she's been there.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
And
Because
sometimes
she doesn't know how to change it.
Yeah, and sometimes they're high up there, and it's really not that big of a
How
deal.
expensive are, I don't know.
Air filter, and that's another thing, is you do not, and you don't need to, especially in Arizona, buy the big fancy thick ones, because they actually restrict airflow. If you have a pet that has some serious hair, you want to buy a little higher end, and change them more often. But I buy like the cheapest ones, because I don't. And an air conditioning contractor told me once, just buy the really cheap ones and spray it with like Aquanet to make it a little more sticky. And they're so cheap. They're like $2, $1, something like that. They're super cheap. Yeah.
Well, it can damage the compressor, right?
Yes.
If you don't change it.
So what happens is when they get really full, they restrict airflow. So then it has to work harder and harder and harder because it's like sucking it in and it can't get the airflow. Or what happens is that it prevents it doesn't protect. So usually it'll stop all of the hair and stuff like that, dog hair, all of that stuff, dirt from coming in. And people that don't put any air filter in, or it stops protecting it, all of that air, all that dirt and pet hair and stuff gets caked on the coil, and then that's when your coil stops working. And then you don't get air conditioning because the refrigerant can't go over the coil to cool your house down. So I'm like, this is genius. It's
Who
super
would
cheap.
think of that as a touch?
I know. But like once a month it comes to your door and you're like, oh, I love my realtor.
I heard of it once before and I never did it, but yeah, it's a great idea.
I mean, I guess when you get like a bazillion clients, it probably gets
But it's still not very expensive if you
right.
just
It's
have a
cheaper than
system.
like Cutco knives. The other two things, real quick, when you're working with a home warranty, there's always the option of cashing out or upgrading. So if they have a unit, and let's say they have a best friend who's in the air conditioning industry, and they want to take the money, and they want somebody else to do it, another contractor to do it, we will write them a check for the $2,500 for whatever it is that we'll do, and they can go ahead and have somebody else do it. Once we deem that we're going to cover it, we'll just write a check and they can do it if they don't want to go through our contractors. So it's nice. If you have somebody's like, oh no, I have people in the industry that I know. Well, this is an easy way to say, yes, but for $4.99 you get all this covered, and if you have an air conditioning breakdown, they're just going to cash you out and give you a check. Also, you can upgrade. So the person that I was talking about that just 20 days in, I was talking to him yesterday about, at this point, we're not necessarily replacing your whole unit, but if you want to take this money right now and put it towards a new unit, you can do that. So he's going to make the decision of whether or not he just takes the amount of money that we're going to do and apply it to a new unit. He can go through our contractors, get contractor pricing, and bite the bullet. So if that fits with his financial position, then it's an easy way for him to take advantage of that as a benefit. So that's always a good opportunity. This upgrade thing you can do with anything, for the appliances, water heaters.
instead of getting them repaired, you'll get them that much money
Yeah.
towards the replacement.
Or even if we're going to replace it, let's say we're going to replace your dishwasher, and you're like, well, I always wanted this super fancy dishwasher that washes dishes for me. And then this is a great chance for you to go do it yourself. Buy whatever you want. Any questions over these?
Do you do listing coverage?
We do.
You do?
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's
And is there a
similar
cost?
as that certified plan I was talking about.
Uh-huh.
We do a basic seller's coverage and we do a certified pre-owned home. We have two.
Okay.
Is there like a major difference?
The only difference is the one has the inspection. But the one with the inspection, you can get options covered. So we cover your pool equipment, we do all that. Regular seller's coverage, it's just the plans. We pick one of the three plans and cover those. We don't have limits to our seller's coverage though.
Okay, so since it's complicated, we just call you when we have the
Yes.
listing and Okay, and
Yeah.
then, are you gonna talk more about Russ and what he does?
That's part of the seller's coverage.
That's the seller's
Yep.
coverage, okay, gotcha.
So, any other questions? I know it's a lot. Hopefully you guys learned something. Did you learn something?
Do you have a business
Yeah.
card or
I
anything?
do.
Business card is good, I don't need a notepad.
And again, any emails, there's not a stupid question out there. I work with people who've been in the industry for 30 years. I guarantee, like Sherry Bellamy was just sitting here, and not that I should call her out. She's like, oh, I already know this. I go, well, I guarantee you don't. But please feel free to reach out to me. I'm always available. On the weekends, I always recommend texting over email because I have little kids and they get mad when I work after 5, but I secretly check my phone all the time.
Do you have information regarding the certified home program?
I do. If
Or
you guys,
just go on the website? Is it on the
I can
website?
send it to you.
Okay.
If you guys will email me, I don't have a sign-in sheet, but if
Can I
you
give you
guys,
my card?
yeah, if you guys have a card or you email me, I'll send it to you. And anything else you want, if you want information about the phase out, or if you want anything, let me know. I'm happy to provide as many resources as I can.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I have a new last name, but the email still works.
Okay. Well, congratulations. Or
What's the opposite?
I know, so I was in the industry. I started with One Guard a long time ago, and then I was married to a realtor, and most people knew that, as I had like a bazillion children. And then I left for a while. I went to education, and I was gone for probably 6 years, and I came back, and everyone always was like, oh, how are you? And I was like, oh, we're divorced. And they're like, oh, I'm sorry. I'm like, no, it's good. It's always like this.
It's all a good thing.
Because both of us were in the industry, you know, but it's kind of funny. Thank you guys for being
Thank
so
you.
attentive. I have to go get 3 of my bazillion children, so. But again, just reach out anytime. I'm always happy to help.
I think we're friends on Facebook, aren't we? Okay, I just never
You're
go
not
on
on
there.
there.
Every once in a while I do. I think I went on there yesterday, last night maybe, but I don't go on very often.
Thank you so much.
I'll go on there when I need to go into the My Home Group back office and get information or ask for information, so.
You're
Yeah.
just, yeah, no, we are
Thank you.
Yeah.
Question.
Yes.
I have a friend who just had her 2 air conditioners go out, but she doesn't have warranty with
Yes,
some
you
company
too.
that I don't know.
Okay.
And they're talking about wanting me to buy
I'm glad
2
they
air
adjusted the air
conditioners.
conditioning. So my feet
It's
got
got the little
out.
R22
Yeah.
system. Any suggestions about how I might be help to her? Could you help me figure this out, or who she should talk to, or what?
If you could get people to tell me who the company are, I could probably help.
I can call her real quick. You gotta go pick up.
I have to go
the
pick
kid.
up my kids. But if you want to